Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Cheers to everybody. Got a little steam going here. Haven't had steam coming up here in a little bit. My apologies on that. Got to have steam. Got to have steam. Thank you for being a part of the show. I appreciate you being a part of the Sleewa show here. I'm a long week, not going to lie to everybody. This was a long week and a lot of bad basketball, unfortunately, for the Lake Show. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Let's get all our topics up here. I do have a quote for everybody here that we can get the show started. Friday, March 14th, 8 a.m. Lakers game last night, game tonight, game Sunday, game Monday. Got a lot of games. 6 games in 8 nights. Cheers to everybody. Still doing no coffee for Lent. I don't think I'm going to do that next year. I think next year I'm going to go ahead and try to take something else out of the mix, not coffee. All right, here's a quote for today. I knew all the rules, but the rules did not know me. I knew all the rules, but the rules did not know me. One more. The things that scare you only make you better and stronger. The things that scare you only make you better and stronger. Okay, I had a couple quotes today. Hope you guys like those quotes right there. If you guys got a quote you guys want to share with everybody, feel free to do so. I encourage anybody, if they got some type of a quote that they think is beneficial to everybody else, throw it in the chat, and I'll definitely read it. We got kind of a packed show today, to be honest with you. I got a lot going on today. Got a guest as well that I'm going to bring on, somebody that covers the Denver Nuggets. Let me give everybody just a quick rundown what we got for the show today. Appreciate you hanging out. If you guys can do me a quick favor, please subscribe to the channel if you guys yet to subscribe to the channel. I know every single show we're getting some new people that are part of the show, so welcome everybody, whether you've been here for a while or you're just getting here for the first time now. Welcome everybody to the Sleewa show. All right, let me give everyone a quick rundown. Lakers lost to the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Bucks game, but I think for me, it's more kind of collectively where the Lakers are, what's kind of happening with the team, the good, the bad. I still thought there was some good stuff that came out of yesterday's game. Lakers got another game. They're going to have to turn around and play another game tonight. We did get an update on all the Laker players, and it was everybody's basically day-to-day. I would say that that's good news if you ask me that. I'll ask Laker fans this, and I'll throw this question out there. Just how concerned are you? Is this a big concern? They've lost 3 games in a row, and just losing 3 games in a row, you could see what that does in the standings in the Western Conference. But big deal, not that big of a deal. Are you watching each one of these games overly concerned? Or are you saying, okay, yeah, I'm just going to wait till they get healthy again, and once they get healthy, we'll figure out what's going on. Ryan Blackburn, who covers the Denver Nuggets, I think he's part of Mile High Sports. He's also part of Locked On Nuggets. So he does a lot of work around the Denver Nuggets. He'll come join the show at 8:30. And then once he comes on, we'll talk a little bit about the matchup. We'll talk about what this would look like if both teams were playing each other in the playoffs. So we'll do a little bit of that as well. We'll keep kind of getting into people's thoughts. But I also want that perspective. I want a perspective from somebody else that's watching the Denver Nuggets, and we'll talk a little bit about the Western Conference and take it from there. A lot of NBA news. I got to be honest with you guys. A lot of NBA news that I want to get into. So I'm going to try to get into it. I saw something. Lou Williams had his thoughts on the bubble championship, and he was actually trying to add a lot of value to that bubble championship. Patrick Dumont, who's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, had something else to say, and that man has not helped himself. Curry goes for 4,000 points. De'Aaron Fox out for the season. Sixers trying to trade Paul George. So there's just a lot of things to get to today. So we might as well get the show started. All right, let me take a quick look at the comments. Again, appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for hanging out. I'm going to ask, let's kind of see if we could set a goal here. I'm going to have some content coming up this weekend for members only. I'm going to give you a link to the members only right here. Can we get 5 new members today? Can we get 5 new MVP members? It's $3 a month, and it's a great way to support the channel. So I'll just leave it at that. I won't try to oversell it or anything like that, but there's a link there at the bottom. All right, let's take a look here at some of the comments here. I feel like a lot of people still going at Alex Lynn. Good morning. Good morning, Slee. Hi, Al. All right, good morning, everybody. This is good. This is good. All I'm asking for is some good quotes. That's all I'm asking for here. I'm not asking for much. Beneath the clothes, we find a man. And beneath the man, we find his nucleus. It's a great quote. That's a really, really good quote right there. Thank you, William. Appreciate you doing that. Ryan, be the change you want to see in the world. Okay, phenomenal. I don't think this is a quote. I think this is just a statement. Alex Lynn, MVP. It's actually easier to make time than fighting it. Felix, that's another great quote right there. Phenomenal quotes. All right, then I got people that, obviously feel a certain way. Feel a certain way about the season. All right, let me get one more quote in here since we got a few people that are chiming in on this. Man who runs in front of car gets tired, and man who runs behind car gets exhausted. Okay? I think that one was either way over my head or I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. All right, let's get the show started. Lakers lose last night to the Milwaukee Bucks. I've said this before. This is not going to be a shock or a surprise or anything like that. And I said it during the postgame show yesterday. I said it before we even, yesterday when I was doing the show. The only way Lakers are able to win these games against some of the competition that they have, the only way that's going to happen is by Lakers having 5 or 6 players that are all contributing. They got to have 5 or 6 guys contribute. And, unfortunately, Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves picked a really, really bad game to be bad in against Brooklyn because that L, it feels like, costs more than just one loss. But last night, it was kind of flipped. Luka was really good. Austin Reeves looked like he was back in rhythm. Lakers still lost the game. And they lost the game because nobody else. You can, if you want to really try here, you could say, well, Dalton Connect was in double figures. He had 10. Okay, fine. That's fine. Dalton Connect had 10. The only way the Lakers are going to win games until LeBron, Rui, and Jackson Hayes come back. By the way, just Rui and Jackson Hayes, if those two come back, now all of a sudden you got something to work with a little bit. And, hopefully, obviously, that can put the Lakers in a position where they can just stop stacking L's. But the only way the Lakers are going to win in these games right now, which is probably the main reason why I don't think I'm overly concerned about the situation, but the only way they're going to win is if we were sitting here this morning and we were talking about Lakers-Bucks yesterday and the Lakers won that game, or it was close down to the wire and they lost by 2 or 3 or something like that. The only way that would be able to happen is if I said, hey, Luka went off for 45, Reeves went off for 28. I think those were their exact numbers. Dorian Finney-Smith had 15. Gabe Vincent had 15. Dalton Connect had 14. And Jordan Goodwin had 12. That's just the only way it's going to happen. And I'm not telling you that that's realistic or unrealistic. What I'm telling you is if they're going to win any games while their key players are, or while LeBron and a couple other key role players are out, that's kind of the only way it's going to happen against talented teams like this. Now, when they play San Antonio on Sunday, okay, maybe you don't need that because De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama are out for the season. Or if they got, I hate to look at the Suns game. The Suns game all of a sudden becomes a really interesting game. Phoenix is not good. They're 6 games below 500. They still can't get into the play-in tournament. And you're talking about a Dallas team that is just hit with all sorts of injuries. Phoenix can still beat the Lakers on Sunday, but the hope is that multiple guys contribute so the Lakers can have some type of success. That has not happened since LeBron went out with his injury. You can hide a lot of things with LeBron when he's giving you 28, 8, and 8. You can't really hide them when LeBron is out of the game. So that's the part that I think is going to be the biggest challenge for the Lakers. Tonight against Denver, I don't think there's going to be anybody here that's expecting the Lakers to win this game, nor should they be expecting the Lakers to win this game. But My concern more than anything else is if you're going to have any chance of beating some of these teams that you got, some of these opponents, or winning or you have 6 games in 8 nights, you have a 3-game losing streak that you're on, you're starting to kind of dip in the Western Conference standings. Literally, by the end of tonight, they could be 5th. So they could go from 2 to 5th in 4 games. That's how quick they could drop. That's how quick they could fall. And there's some teams behind them that are also putting some pressure on the Lakers. So with all that in mind, I just set this all up by saying I thought last night's game, nothing surprising happened. And if you are going to make it a game tonight, you got to have 5 or 6 guys in double figures. And there's just no other way to put it. And Lakers weren't able to do that. Let me throw this question out to Laker fans because I think it's a fair question. About a week ago, let's see who the Lakers played. Yeah, let's call it a week ago. A week ago, we were sitting here. Lakers had just beat the New York Knicks the night before. Remember, they had come back and really kind of took over in this last 6 minutes or so of the fourth quarter. They get the game to overtime. Gabe Vincent had a big night. LeBron did his thing. I mean, it was a big win for the Lakers. A week ago, we were all sitting here, and it was blue skies. Everything was going good, and you had a big test coming up. It was going to be on that Saturday against the Boston Celtics on the road. It was a barometer game, and we all felt a certain way. A week later, it looks like the sky is falling. The good news is there's context to this, and we know why they're losing the games they are, and predominantly it's because LeBron's not in the lineup. So let me throw this out to Laker fans that are out there. How overly concerned are you? How worried are you that the situation that the Lakers are in is a really, really bad situation? Or are you a little bit like me right now, where I'm kind of sitting back and saying, I can't really gauge them off this roster? Because I do remember there was a time that the Lakers went 20-4 in 24 games, had won 11 or 12 games against teams over 500 in a row, and looked like one of the more dangerous teams in the Western Conference and potentially in the entire NBA. That was not that long ago. I do think there's a reason why the Lakers are playing the way they are and why they're on a 3-game losing streak and probably on a 4-game losing streak by the time tonight ends. The only game, again, I go back to is the Brooklyn loss is the one that I think is really going to hurt the Lakers. But I'll throw that question out. Is there a lot of concern right now, the Lakers' position, their predicament, their situation? Or are you a little bit like me and it's like, no, I'd be a lot more worried if they had everybody healthy and they were still losing these games? Before I take a look at the comments, I do want to point one thing out because JJ Redick mentioned this yesterday. JJ said LeBron, Hayes, and Rui Hachimura. By the way, they all went back to LA for rest and recovery. This is a tweet I'm reading from Yovan Buha. He said they are all day-to-day moving forward. That sounds like really good news to me. That doesn't sound like, hey, I'm going to use Bron as the clear example here. Bron was the biggest question mark of all these names because, well, how long is LeBron going to be out for? They said 1 to 2 weeks minimum. Okay, I'm sure we'll probably get another update after the weekend, and then we'll have a little bit better of an idea of what it's going to look like for Bron. Maybe they're going to wait for this stretch of games to just end these 6 games in 8 nights or whatever the case is. Maybe they're just like, hey, let's get the hell out of the way, and then we'll worry about everything after that. But that to me sounds like really good news. Day-to-day for all these guys. Okay, so does that mean at worst in 2 weeks, everybody's back? I'll take that. I mean, that doesn't mean the Lakers won't keep falling, but I'll take that if that's the case. So day-to-day for the rest of the crew. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see what everybody's got to say here. Hey, Slee, I've seen what this team could do when fully healthy and seen it go to the West Finals being 7th seed and with a lesser roster. Health over seeding, and I'm not worried one bit. Love from Baghdad, Iraq. Wow. That's awesome. Lath, number 1, thank you for the super. I appreciate it. Number 2, my roots. It's my Middle Eastern roots there. So cheers, brother. Thank you for being a part of the show. Very, very nice of you to be a part of it. And thank you again for the super. Okay, I think there's something to what he's saying. I've seen what this team can do when fully healthy. I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to worry too much about them getting to the West Finals, being the 7th seed, everything else, because that was with a completely different team. That was with a different head coach. We're going to kind of put that to the side. But I think the part of, hey, I've seen what this team can do fully healthy. There's a reason why the Lakers are losing. You know what a lot of these networks are not saying right now, or I'm not coming on the show? What people are not saying is, hey, what's wrong with the Lakers? Everybody knows. What's wrong is they don't have their main guy. So I think that has a lot to say with it. And I think what you said here at the bottom, health over seeding, I'm not worried a bit. At the end of it, listen, in a perfect world, you had both. You could have tried to get that number 2 seed, and if you ended up playing Denver in the second round, all right, you got Denver in the second round, but Game 7 is going to be at Crypto. You don't have that luxury. And I don't think Luka and LeBron are going to be overly concerned if they have a road game, if they don't have home court advantage in the playoffs. That part, don't get me wrong. It can hurt the Lakers, and it can be the difference of winning a series. But if you don't have health, you're not going anywhere anyways. So what's the point of having health and home court advantage? Or what's the point of not having health but having home court advantage? You're going to lose that round anyways if LeBron's not there. So we'll see if the timing-wise this works out okay. Lay, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you. HH, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Very, very nice of you throwing that super sticker. So thank you very much, brother. Felix, if we're not injury riddled, then I'd be concerned about losing these games. I've seen enough sample size of what we can do when we're healthy. Relax. You relax. I fall more along this line. I fall more along the lines of, by the way, even if Braun was playing and they lost to Milwaukee, okay, it's not the end of the world, but I would like to make sure that they won versus Milwaukee at home. Even if they lost to Denver tonight, but LeBron was healthy, okay, I want Denver. I want you to win that game at Crypto. I think that's the only kind of difference here. The difference here is L's are going to come. Obviously, you would want that Brooklyn win if LeBron was out. You want that Brooklyn win, whether LeBron was healthy or he wasn't. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So, Felix, I think we fall on the same lines. All right. So far, the comments I've read, I think there's a lot of people saying to themselves that, no, it's all good. They'll be fine. Let me see some more of the sky is falling. I need some skies are falling, guys. I mean, how am I supposed to put together a good show on both sides if I don't get a little bit sky is falling? All right. Not concerned as long as they're not in the play-in and the team is healthy come playoff time. There is some truth to that about the play-in. You know, the whole idea on the concept is the best thing about not being in the play-in is you get that week off. It's not a week off, but it's close to a week off. It's about 5-6 days. And who knows, if let's just say Lakers already kind of locked up there in the seedings, it's not going to change before the final game on Sunday. Maybe they're resting guys for one full week. What does that schedule look like in that final week? Is it a Friday and a Sunday game? Let me see what it is. So they play Friday against the Houston Rockets and then Sunday against the Portland Trailblazers. Maybe by the time Friday's game is done on April 11th, this is the key of not being in the play-in. Let's just say by the time Friday's game is done on April 11th, that everything's already been determined. We already know what the seeding is going to be. Sunday's game just doesn't matter. You can get one full week off before the playoffs start. And I think that's big for guys like Luka, for LeBron, guys that have kind of been in and out of the lineup. I'm sure Vando can use a breather. I'm sure Reeves at that point. I'm sure for all these guys, it's big. So that's a good point in the sense of as long as you're not in the play-in tournament, you can kind of figure things out from there. All right, let's get Peter in here. Peter, I don't care about these losses. I do care about what big we will have come playoff time. We need somebody not named Alex Lynn. Guys, I need a lot of Laker fans to Alex Lynn's not going to be used much. Alex Lynn's being used because LeBron, Rui, and Jackson Hayes are all out. That's why he's being used. And I really don't want people to kind of go at JJ of how can you use this guy? He doesn't want to use him. He doesn't have a choice. what I think the proper answer was, Lakers, they screwed up in that buyout market by giving that contract to Alex Len. Indiana got lucky that they didn't get him. But they did screw up by bringing in Alex Len. Okay, let's get another one here. There we go. Finally, some sky is falling. Can't do a proper show without this. Very concerned. Going from hosting at least 2 playoff series to maybe hosting 1. Maybe is a big word, by the way. I mean, by the end of tonight, if Houston handles their business and Denver, for all intents and purposes, handles their business against the Lakers, you would not be hosting a first-round series. But I'll go back to what I said a little bit earlier. I think for me, home court is a little bit – home court, I'm not as I want home court because I think it could be very helpful to the Lakers, but I think probably – and also because they got all the way up to the number 2 seed, so you felt like they earned it. But if it's not there, then it's not there. A lot of Alex Len. The Lake Show has officially dried up and turned to Death Valley. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be okay. I really do. I think just where you really can start assessing this team is really got to assess them once they get healthy. And my concern is less to do with the standings. My concern has more to do with, is LeBron healthy? And then I'll get greedy and then worry about the standings. I'm concerned that they lost the Brooklyn game because I didn't expect them to win against Milwaukee and Denver. You're fair. I'll keep saying that. The Brooklyn game was a really, really bad loss. Really, really bad loss. We can't beat the Spurs or the Bulls. They both have a center. We don't. All right, we'll get to that time when it comes. I know they're going to have some really winnable games next week that there's kind of no negotiation on. Next week, they got no choice. They have to beat. Can they beat Phoenix? I mean, you got to beat the Spurs. You got to beat Chicago. And frankly, you probably got to beat Phoenix as well if you want to just keep your head above water. Okay, I want to look at something here real quick as we get ready for Lakers and the Nuggets coming up tonight. Damn, how quick did things change? Do you guys remember this? How long ago did it seem when the Lakers walked into Ball Arena in Denver? Luka went off for 32, 10, and 7. Had 4 steals, by the way. LeBron had 25, 9, and 5. Reeves had 23, 7, and 4. Rui gave you 21. Basically, every starter was phenomenal. And the Lakers walked into Denver and blew them out, 123 to 100. Doesn't that feel like that was a year and a half ago? It really does. Just, not BSing with everybody. It feels like it was so long ago. All right, this is how long ago it was. Try to find the exact date when that game was. Yeah, they played Denver it was February 22nd. So 3 weeks later, they're going to be going back to Denver. And, obviously everything looks a little bit different. But it really does feel like it was a long time ago. But it also just kind of tells you how much has changed since the Lakers got that win, got that W against Denver, and it was Luka's kind of going out, or it was his coming out party for the Lakers. I thought last night was interesting too, because that Luka version from last night reminded me of the Luka version when he was in Denver. I mean, Milwaukee had no answer for Luka yesterday. He had 29 in the first half, ended up with 45. And I saw some people in the postgame show yesterday saying, hey, they're just stat padding. No, stat padding that's not the right time to say they're stat padding. I mean, the Lakers were trying to win a game against against Milwaukee. Luka's looking around and saying, okay, well, I'm going to have to put this whole thing on my shoulders. Austin Reeves obviously has the green light to do whatever he wants. Nobody else was contributing. That's not stat padding. That is 100% 2 guys trying to do everything they can to keep the Lakers in the game. And they couldn't do it. I mean, there's no other way around it. But it was kind of nice to see, and it was refreshing to see both of those players doing what they were doing. It really was. It was nice to see both of those players kind of handling business the way they were. And I think that could have a little bit of an advantage for the Lakers, not for last night's game, probably not for tonight's game, but just in general to have some type of help out with their own confidence, help out with their own, especially for a guy like Austin Reeves. How much can that help down the road? We'll have to wait and find out. Okay. Tonight against Denver, I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of my expectations, and maybe it's not realistic at all, and maybe this is just another blowout. But in a perfect world, if we can get some type of a world like this, I think that, obviously we'll give Lakers somewhat of hope, somewhat of a chance. Just stay in the game. That's it. I don't think anybody's asking for anything else. Just be in the game. Can we get to, by the time it's halftime, be within 6-7 points? Can Denver kind of approach this game not really paying attention because LeBron's not there? I don't think they will. I think Michael Malone will have his team set up. Plus, they had a loss against the Lakers last time, so there's going to be extra incentive in them for them to want to win this game. But can you just make it a game by the time the fourth quarter starts? That's all I'm asking for. And then after that, if it's another L, all right, we'll shift our attention, and you got a shot at getting a couple wins at home in these next couple of days on Sunday and Monday. You got a shot against the Phoenix Suns, and I think you got a shot, of course, against the San Antonio Spurs. You got a chance to grab 2 games this weekend. Suns, I mentioned, are just 30 and 36. They stink. And the Spurs got 2 of their stars they got both of their stars that are not playing in that game. But make tonight, can you, as best as you can you make it competitive? Can you put a little bit of scare into Denver? Can you catch Denver off guard? That I think is going to be the biggest question. And I don't have an answer for you. I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but that's going to be kind of the hope for the Lakers as we approach tonight's game. All right, I got to give some love. I got to give a shout out here. I'm going to be at his office on Tuesday. I'm going to be in Encino doing my show. He's got a great little podcast studio there that I'm going to do my show from. Brad Wallace of the Wallace firm. Thank you to him for being a partner of the show here on YouTube, of the Sliwa Show, and the post-game show that I do. Someone I've known for about 5 years. The industry is very cluttered, injury attorneys. I mean, if you're out here in Southern California, I'm sure you're driving around and you see billboards everywhere and ads everywhere and everything else. I can tell you firsthand, this is somebody that I know very well, and is somebody that is clearly in support of my endeavors and what I'm trying to do. If you or someone is in a serious injury, you should reach out to Brad Wallace. Let him walk you or your family through your legal options. I'm sure it's a very intimidating and daunting process. Let an expert in the field help you, and he can help anyone in the state of California. I hope I never need to make an introduction, but if I need to, I will. I can make a personal introduction through email. I hope you never need the URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. But if you do, it's there for you. You can get a free consultation. I hope you never need Brad Wallace in the Wallace firm, but things happen in life, and predicaments happen, and situations happen. And if you're ever in a situation where you or someone close to you has been seriously injured or dealing with a loss of a loved one, you should find out what legal options you have. You deserve the absolute best in the business, and he's the best in the business. Brad Wallace in the Wallace firm. I'm going to leave the URL right there, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you to him for being a part of the show. Greatly appreciate him being a partner. And thank you to those that understand that these partnerships are very critical to having a successful channel. So thank you for that. Okay, let me read a couple comments here, and then we're going to get to our guest here in just a second. Okay. I appreciate the super. God bless Alex Lynn. Coloco didn't look good either. Okay, look, we got the first positive comment there for Alex Lynn. I don't think we've had that yet on the channel. So there's a Friday, March 14th at 8:29. Alex Lynn gets a compliment. All right, there we go. Mr. Manners gifts 1 MVP membership. Thank you, Mr. Manners. I appreciate you doing that. Hopefully somebody could take advantage of that. I put a link a little bit earlier. If you guys want a link and want to be an MVP member, there's a link right there in the bio or in the comments. Seiko, what happens if we were down by 20 at the half, having scored 40 points? Sit the starters, 100%. Yeah, if this game's over by the time the first half is all said and done. I mean, they won't sit the starters in the third quarter, but they'll probably sit them in the fourth quarter. And it's a second of a back-to-back, and Are you going to you want to take any chances on Luka Doncic or Austin Reeves, who's just coming off an injury? Probably not. So I don't think that's going to be happening at all. Seiko, thank you for the super. Thank you to everybody with the supers. I really appreciate that as always. Okay, I want to get to our guest here. I want to welcome in Ryan Blackburn, who covers the Denver Nuggets, does a lot of things all Denver Nuggets related. Mile High Sports, he writes for. I know Locked On Nuggets as well. Ryan, great to meet you. Thank you for coming on, brother. How are you? We got no audio.
My bad. I had myself muted. Great to have. Thank you for having me on. Always appreciate the ask, the invite. This is always great. So Nuggets Lakers. That's always an interesting time for us here in Denver because it's always you're beating big brother, little brother. It had been flipped, but now we're starting to see some shifts here a little bit.
Okay, here's my first question. By the way, thank you for coming on. So I appreciate it. First question I have for you is, now that I put the pieces together here, and we got introduced by somebody. When I was on radio, I used to have somebody come on with me. His name is Vinny Benedito, and Vinny introduced us to come on and do this YouTube stuff. So I think I'm putting the pieces together now. There was a time for about a solid 2 weeks where people kept telling me, Al, have you watched the trade reaction from the Denver Nuggets from their side of it? Because you guys were live streaming, I'm assuming, when all that was going on.
Oh, yeah.
So I went back and watched it. So now I'm actually putting all the pieces together. Let me ask you first this. How much have people talked to you about your guys' live reaction since that happened? Is that something that comes up a lot?
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you for the views. That was that thing went so viral. It was awesome. Had a lot of fun doing that until it actually happened, but we kept the cameras rolling and had a good time. No, it was I've had several people come up to me, and whether it's Lakers fans, whether it is Nuggets fans, whether it's just people around the NBA that I know, it was like, because it was a random Saturday night on February 1st, and I don't think anybody was thinking, yeah, let's just prepare for the biggest moment in like the NBA history in the past like 25 years. That's probably not something people were thinking about. So it was nice to be live for that, and Lakers fans still popping into those comments saying thank you for Luka. That was I had nothing to do with it.
It's funny. I was same thing. I'll react after every game. So Lakers had just beat New York.
Yeah.
And I was literally starting to preview the Clippers game. I was done. I mean, the show was done. It was already an hour plus after.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing them come in, or I saw some of the comments was like, Slee, check Twitter. And I looked at it, and I'm live like you. And I'm like, I'm not reporting on that. It's not real. And then I saw but then I couldn't go anywhere. Then I said to myself, I'm like, all right, well, I'm not ending the stream. Let's just kind of see how this plays out.
Yeah.
And then I think 2.5 hours later, I was still on. That's how long it went. But anyways, I was just putting the pieces together. Okay, so Lakers and the Nuggets tonight. I want to let me go back here for a quick second, because last time Lakers played Denver, obviously we've known, I've had a lot of people, whether it be Laker fans or people within the industry, that say, Lakers, they lost to Denver, but every game was close. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to me. At the end of the day, if you've lost 8 or 9 in the playoffs, one team's got your number, period. And sure. I think at one point it was 13 or 14. I don't want to hear, but we almost got them. Like that there's just, I don't really find anything in that. Lakers finally get Luka, and in their first game with Luka, they ball out in Denver and they win 123-100. And, I think a lot of people, it was a big game, not because it was a regular season game. I thought it was a big game because Lakers have struggled so much against Denver specifically. And here comes Luka and looked like the savior in one game.
Right.
Can you go back to that game and just tell me, when that game ended, did your perception of whatever the Lakers and the Nuggets had been over the last couple of years, did that just all kind of get wiped out because the roster isn't the same?
Oh, it's 1,000,000% different, because the way that you play And the way that you put things together around an Anthony Davis versus Nikola Jokic lineup is so much different than the way that they put things together around Nikola Jokic versus what felt like everybody at the same time, where that was sort of the scheme that JJ Redick brought into the thing. Rui Hachimura spent a lot of time guarding him, face guarding him, spent a lot of time triple teaming him whenever he caught the ball in the post and forcing him to kick the ball out or dump it off, and made some mistakes, made some bad plays. And Jokic shot 2 of 7. He would never shoot 2 of 7 against Anthony Davis. For as great of a defender as Anthony Davis is, he just didn't have anything for Jokic in that matchup. And so you play a little bit differently on the defensive end, like aggressively. And then on the other end of the floor, LeBron doesn't have it on this particular possession. Let's just throw it over to Luka Doncic. Let's just see how that goes. And it's drastically different, I think, between the way that these matchups felt before versus the way that they feel now. Denver has their work cut out for them in this matchup now, because they are not infallible, as we've seen against so many of these teams and so many good teams in the NBA. The Lakers can now count themselves among that. And I don't know if they could before. They were pretty clearly, I think, a second tier or third tier contender in the West before, just kind of spinning their wheels. And now you add a top 5 player in the NBA who's in his prime for the next 5 to 7 years, and you're cooking with gas at that point. So I think this is going to be a fascinating thing to break down and see how this game changes from that previous one. But yeah, the feeling in the building on that one was, okay, this matchup is entirely different.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've kind of tried explaining to a lot of Laker fans. And I don't think I need to tell them, but I think whatever the Lakers' history was with other teams, get it out of the way. By the way, even positively, Lakers were always a really good matchup against Memphis because Memphis didn't have the size. I don't know what that looks like now, right? So, like, if that was what the positive was when they had Anthony Davis, you can't apply that to Lakers versus Memphis today, or they struggled against Denver for as long as they did. You can't apply what that history was to today, because all of this is kind of new, to be honest with you, right? A lot of this is going to be completely different. With that being said, obviously a team that you're covering on a daily basis is the Denver Nuggets. Can you tell us a little bit about Denver this year? I've for the games that I've watched them, there are times where they surprise me, like the drop in 140 on OKC.
Yeah.
And then there are times where it's like, yeah, they clearly, the names that they've lost over the last 2 years, I think represent some of the lack of depth that they have. But I don't watch them every day. So tell me kind of a little bit of what this audience or the audience, a little bit about the Nuggets this year.
Yeah. So first thing to know is that they're like 5-12 or 5-13 on national TV. That's the first thing to know. Whenever they're asked to put their best foot forward in front of the largest audience, they suck. They are horrible against these really good teams. And that's notable to me, because you play really good teams in the playoffs. You play really good teams in a series. So you have to figure that out if you're Denver, and they have shown a lot more weakness there than they have in previous seasons. Next thing to know is that Jokic is better than he's ever been, and that's why it was so notable that he struggled in that first Lakers matchup, because he has been unstoppable. He's averaging basically a 29-point triple-double and dominating these games against every team. Even his bad games before that Lakers one were like he faced Minnesota on Wednesday and had 34, 8-4 or whatever it was, and that was a bad game. So we're at the place with him where he's redefining what expectations are for the best player in the world. And it's why this MVP race is as convoluted as it is between him and SGA, because SGA's got a traditional case. Jokic has like a Jokic case. And I think that beyond those two storylines, Jamal Murray's back to playing really good basketball for the most part. He was struggling early in the season. Now he's looking a lot closer to, I think, what Lakers fans expect him to look like. And Michael Porter kind of going the opposite direction in some ways. Porter started the season really well. He carried some water for the Nuggets early on in the season. Now he's looking a little bit more unsure of himself, and they're trying to figure out how to piece it all together, especially when Russell Westbrook is there. Aaron Gordon is sometimes there. He's been hurt a lot of the year, and Christian Brown is trying to figure out how to be the starter.
The piece you said right there about Jamal Murray, I'm curious on. I feel like his name is brought up, and maybe this is just the shadow of Jokic. I don't know, whatever it is. But every time I think of Jamal Murray, I just think of Jamal Murray against the Lakers in the playoffs.
Right.
Absolute killer. When he's got it going, it feels like, okay, the Nuggets are at their best if Jamal Murray is I'm sizing up whoever's guarding me. I'm hitting my threes. I could get to the basket. I could pull up and hit that 15-footer or 14-footer, whatever it is. How would you kind of define his importance to the team if they got real chance of making noise? Is it all the other players that have to be good, or is it kind of if Jamal Murray's good, then the Nuggets got a shot at beating somebody?
It's him. It's him because you know what you're getting with Jokic. If you get a good, like, strong version of Jamal Murray, then the Nuggets are always going to have a chance against whoever they play. Everybody. And that includes the top teams in the league. The factor that they always have to consider is that because the ball goes through Jokic and Murray as often as it does, they run the two-man game. They're going to play 40-plus minutes in the playoffs each. If you can't stop those two, then everything else kind of it's difficult to evaluate because Michael Porter doesn't necessarily have to shoot and make, like, hey, it doesn't have to score 20. Aaron Gordon doesn't have to score 20. They can. And when those games do happen is when Denver is often their most successful. But usually what that's going to be based off of is Jokic and Murray adding up 55 to 60 points between the two of them at some point, and the Nuggets filling in the gaps after that. So Murray is the second most important player on the team. He always is, because when he's consistent, things look really good. And when he's not consistent and when he looks overwhelmed, like he did in the Minnesota series last year, and he looked in parts against the Lakers last year, then it looks a little bit more stressful. So he's just massively important for this Nuggets team, and they do not have a chance unless he is at his best.
Do we know if I asked you right now, and it's completely okay if you lean towards the Denver Nuggets on this, but I'm just curious, do we know what a Lakers Nuggets 7-game set would look like? I mean, do you, because here's the problem with the next week. The problem in the next week is, okay, let's say Denver wins tonight. I completely get it. I understand it. If the Lakers continue to not have Jackson Hayes and LeBron James and Rui Hachimura, it's just really tough for the Lakers to do anything right now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's tough to see what they represent. If both teams are healthy, Aaron Gordon's there for the Nuggets, and Rui and LeBron, and obviously everybody's healthy for the Lakers. Do you have an idea what a 7-game set would look like between those two teams? I have a feeling it'd be a very, very competitive series that can go either way.
Yeah, I would say it's a deep series. I don't feel comfortable picking one team or the other. And I know that Lakers fans are going to be like, but we just beat them by 23. What are you talking about?
They'll make their adjustments. It's one game. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like the other aspect of it is that the aggressiveness that the Lakers played with on that night, you could tell how much like that roster and that coaching staff cared to get this matchup and get it behind them. And like, I think it was JJ Redick who said, I didn't sleep for 2 days preparing for this matchup. How often do you see a coach say that about a regular season game? I genuinely think that they wanted to clear the air of that matchup at this stage of the season and find an opportunity. They're in a good spot rest-wise at that point, coming off of the All-Star break. Let's see if we could put together a game plan that really frazzles Jokic. And they did. It was great. But to work that game plan, you have to work extremely hard as a roster, as a rotation. When you're always fronting, when you are always triple teaming, when you're scrambling, when you're packing the paint with 5 guys, that's a hard scheme to execute for 7 games. And the reason is because Denver, like, they shot okay in that game. They were fine. That wasn't the thing, but Denver can do a lot of different things, getting Murray open more consistently, getting Porter open more consistently. I thought that Porter looked like a shell of himself in that first matchup. It's different if that's the guy who has previously had success against the Lakers. If he puts it together as a perimeter shooter, as he has often done so. So I think that the Nuggets would be more prepared for that in the playoffs. And as a result, this is going 6 or 7. I don't feel great going either way because Luka's a killer in the playoffs. LeBron is a killer in the playoffs. Those guys are fantastic. And the important thing is they've got the important depth pieces around them, the smart veterans around them to execute that scheme and handle themselves. So I don't know. I don't know what would happen. I would probably pick Nuggets in 7 if the Nuggets are at home, and I'd probably pick Lakers in 7 if the Lakers are at home.
Yeah, that's why I like the question too, is because there's such little history between the two teams.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. And I like what you said too. It's like, look, Luka's a killer. His games only get better in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I don't know this, but I've heard other people say it. Luka, when he was with Dallas, how did he perform against Denver? Like, how do Nuggets fans perceive Luka?
They perceive him as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. Like he was one of the guys that they would have to trap at half court and try to avoid killing them. Because now the problem with that though is that I genuinely think that the way to guard Luka is not to do what the Nuggets have done on a consistent basis, but because they have Jokic, because they don't want Luka to score 60, they decided, you know what, we're going to trap him, get the ball out of his hands. But that's how he gets everybody else involved. So if I were Denver, I would not play it that way. I would try to let Luka demolish them and like kind of like what happened against the Bucks last night, kind of let everybody else do like feast or famine on that end.
Yeah, and by the way, the other problem is if you got LeBron playing off ball and Luka's getting doubled, and there's a way that LeBron has the ball in his hands, and it's basically 4-on-3, and LeBron's making the decisions. It's another Luka on the floor, so it's not it's not like that part's helping at all. Let me ask you a quick. Well, let me ask you one more Denver question, and then I got a couple questions on the Western Conference.
Sure.
What's it like watching Jokic? 82 games a year, plus the playoffs. Every time I get to see him, you know, it's a handful of times a year. He is brilliant. You look at the stats are always there, but tell me what it's like watching one of the greatest we've ever seen do it on a night in, night out basis.
Because he is so unassuming all the time, you sometimes get caught up in the, oh, it wasn't remarkable perspective that a lot of folks share when they tune into him for the first time, or if they are just parachuting in and saying, hey, how's it going? Oh, Jokic has 30, 20, 20. Okay. It's you're numb. You're numb at some points just to some of the crazy things that he has done in his career. But this year in particular has felt like he has leveled his game up to another level, not just statistically, but just as somebody who understands the burden that he has for this team and is willing to accept that. Early on in the year, Denver was like, they were 11-10 when they lost to the Washington Wizards. You can't really blame Jokic that much for that one because he had 56. Like he's 56, 16 and 8, I believe the numbers were. He's trying really hard and he doesn't want to sit. I asked him this on Wednesday. Hey, 16 games left in the season. Do you think that the team would be better off like getting as much rest for the playoffs as they can? He's like, no. Like he doesn't want to rest. He wants to play as many games as possible. He wants to be out there. He wants to be supportive of his teammates. He's not going to act like he is better and more important all the time. And having to accept that. It's just so fascinating to cover him and get to know him a little bit over this stretch because it is very stressful for a lot of people. But for Jokic, he continues to treat it with the same even keel nature. It's not that he doesn't care. It's the fact that he's never going to get too high or too low in any situation. And that's what a really great leader does.
Should he just kind of simply put your opinion? I know you're covering the team every day. Should he win MVP again?
I don't know. As I described before, Shea has the best traditional case, best player on best team, and he's fantastic. He really is. Jokic breaks a lot of this stuff because the numbers are so good and he is so good. And you just know that he's an all-time great that I've heard people locally here compare it to Michael Jordan having to relinquish MVPs to other guys or LeBron James having to relinquish MVPs to other guys, even though everybody's like, yeah, they're the best player. But I think that if you're treating him that way, he probably shouldn't win it, but this is his best year that he's ever had. It's his best year, and the Nuggets are the two or three seed, 3 seed, whatever they are right now. They're still really good. It's not like they're a 500 team. So
yeah, they're not 6th or 7th or something along those lines, and he's just putting up stats. They're still obviously winning. Okay, question. Curious, and especially because the Nuggets just played the Thunder twice in the last couple of games. And I know there was that loss against the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. When you look at the Western Conference, is in the games that you've seen the Nuggets play the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think naturally there's a little bit of, I feel like there's one or two ways that come with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Either people have no respect for them at all because they haven't been to the NBA Finals and won it, and I think it's more of the minority that's saying they're going to be in the NBA Finals. I think there's hesitation. There's more hesitation than there is saying they're gonna be in the finals. What is your kind of view on the Oklahoma City Thunder?
I probably fall more into the NBA Finals camp, but just any number that you look at with them points to them winning it. Just because of how dominant they have been in the league this year, the numbers that they put up, even when they go on the road, when they're put into these tough situations, going up against these great teams, they still look like who they are. Shea still puts up great numbers against elite teams, no matter who they are. And I think that's one factor that you would expect to kind of drop off if you're a young team, is when you're put into these large, like, premier situations. How do you perform? They've been great. They've been awesome. So I think that their learning curve was last year, where they lost to a guy like Luka and the Dallas Mavericks, but really it was because of PJ Washington and the Dallas Mavericks in that series. And it just, like, they couldn't adjust in time. So I think that it's fair to have them as a team that's on the outside looking in because of how young they are. But, like, they have just as good of a chance, if not better, than anybody in the Western Conference, because of the position that they are going to be in, because of the defense that they have. There are just no holes on that defense right now, as long as everybody's healthy and point to the same direction. So I really like them. I think that they're going to be good. Like, there's a difference if you're facing LeBron James and Luka Doncic or Nikola Jokic and how they handle those matchups. But Dagnall's very smart. They have a smart team. I think that they'll handle it.
Yeah, they're not supposed to. They can't win this year. I mean, if they win this year, what the hell happens for the next 5 years?
Every year after that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that's, I think. And listen, I really respect the organization, how they built the team they have. I mean, listen, Denver as well. Denver's a great example. Denver drafting Jokic when they did, and kind of the way they put together the roster. They traded for Aaron Gordon. I'm a fan of some of these front offices that have to be a little bit more strategic and how they do things. But Sam Presti and OKC, I was looking at something. This was about a week ago, when they were, maybe a little bit more than a week ago, when they were making the announcement that Embiid out for the season. And then they were talking about Philadelphia, and they were saying, well, the problem they're in now is they have to have one of the 6 worst records in the NBA in order to keep one of those picks. And I know it's going to come down to the lottery picks and everything else, because it's protected after 6. It's top 6 protector, top 7, however they frame it. And then they just slipped in at the end there, because if not, the pick goes to OKC. I'm like, they're still getting picks from all these other teams, and the answer is yes.
They're getting picks from Denver. Denver's sending them there over the course of the next half decade. It's still happening.
I was listening to a podcast about the Mavs, about Dallas, and there was something in the conversation there. There had been some chatter of like, hey, do you shut down Anthony Davis? Hey, do you trade Anthony Davis in the summer and just kind of start the rebuild? And somebody was making the point. They're like, well, I'll tell you who would love that. Houston, I think it was San Antonio, and OKC all have picks coming from the Dallas Mavericks. So they're like, absolutely, you should start your rebuild now. But every one of these teams has, like, there's an OKC conversation about their pick. I'm like, does OKC just have rights to every team?
Yeah. Yes, they do. That's it's an unfortunate reality for the rest of the NBA. It's them. There's another team that had a similar framing, but like San Antonio's positioned really well for that
Sure,
reason.
they are.
Houston still has some picks coming from other teams, and that they're a team to watch this offseason with guys like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. But we'll be fascinated to see how this Western Conference continues to evolve, because they could still get better. The OKC Thunder. There's nothing holding them back if they wanted to try to trade for Giannis, if they wanted to try to trade for Jokic, if that's something that they really tried to throw at those teams' way and say, hey, we'll give you the house.
Is it a final one for you? And I appreciate your time, Ryan. Is it a two team race in the East? Does it come down to Cleveland and Boston? And if you think it does, who do you think has the edge there?
Man, it is probably a 2-team race. I think that Indiana can make the conference finals. I think they could beat one of those teams. I think New York could beat one of those teams, but they're looking shaky just with the way that they're kind of like Denver. They don't really play above 500, like top level teams that well. And when you don't do that, that says a lot to me about how you handle the details, how you handle those big moments. I think I would pick. The easy thing is to say Boston, right? Because they just said it. They just did it. I'm going to pick Cleveland, man. I'm going to pick Cleveland because I think like they are just so complete in every way that if they get good performances, like just solid, they don't even have to be crazy performances from Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley or Darius Garland or Jared Allen, just the solid performances. They've got enough depth and they've got enough versatility on the back end to complete any situation for them. Trading for DeAndre Hunter was awesome. That was a great move for them.
Great move.
And they have so many different guys that you can point and choose and say, hey, for this situation at this moment, we need your skill set. And they've got that. So I think that they'll be able to do it. But this is a big one for Donovan Mitchell, because if he can't get to the finals or advance past a really good team with this makeup, then I think some of it says a lot about how you're leading and what you're able to do with that particular mix. So I'm curious to see how it is, but it's really hard to repeat. The Nuggets just went through it. The Celtics are going to have to go through it as well. I think they're going to be gassed.
Ryan, thank you, buddy. Let's see how this next month or so goes, and then kind of see what these playoff matchups look like. And I'm sure you and I will be connecting again down the road, but I really appreciate your time.
Awesome, Al. Thank you for having me on. Thanks to Vinny for connecting us. It was awesome.
There you go. Yes, sir. All right, man. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
All right. That is Ryan Blackburn, covers the Denver Nuggets. Good stuff from him. I always like sometimes, if not for all the teams, but just give me teams that we have interest in. As far as Denver's a team that's interesting to me. Minnesota, when I brought on Alan Horton, and as especially now that we start getting kind of a little bit closer to the playoffs, I got some curiosity on some other teams in the West. What is it? Houston. There's definitely some Oklahoma City Thunder. I got to find somebody that we could talk to as well. So I think that's those are good conversations. So shout out to him for coming on. All right, let's take a look here at some of the comments. And actually, what I need to do, let's see what we got here. Let's get a couple of the comments in, and then I want to do my weekend preview here real quick. And I got a couple stories in the NBA I'm going to get into as well. All right, here's a comment. That was 100% not a compliment to Alex. LOL. Oh, no, I know that. Alex Lynn, we know that. Alex Lynn is not. He has, let's just say, hasn't got the greatest grace from some of the Laker fans out there. Seiko, I watch Matt, Swipa, and Ryan on Locked On Nuggets. Yeah, good stuff from him. I enjoy that conversation. I love talking to people who cover other teams. I really do. Mr. Manners, thank you for the gifting of the Hoops Talk membership here, MVP membership. I appreciate that. Hopefully somebody gets a chance to jump on that. I'll have some content coming out this weekend too. So just for members there, and then eventually I'll put it out to the public as well. All right, let's take a look here. There's a couple things I want to do here. I'm just going to actually tie these all together as we get ready for the weekend. We'll do a little preview action here. Let me kind of tie a couple things in here together. Number one, I want to play something here real quick. What do I want to play first? Let me play this one here real quick. Lou Williams was talking about I got a couple NBA stuff to get into, and then we'll look at a couple games coming up this weekend, and then we'll call it a week. Let me share my screen with everybody here real quick. Lou Williams was doing his show, Run It Back. This is Clutch Points, by the way, that put this together. Conversation came up about the bubble championship. And I've heard a lot of people, especially recently, this kind of came up, and we were talking about what LeBron has kind of done over his career, and how do you what will we consider a successful career for LeBron as a Lakers? One championship enough? However you want to describe it. That's come up in the conversations. Take a quick listen here. Here's Lou Williams talking about the bubble championship and what he thought.
But he's still LeBron James. He broke the scoring record with you. He won the elusive bubble championship that many people have mixed reviews about, whether it's a legitimate championship or not. I think it's legitimate because I wanted it like hell. So I'm not going to be one of the people that say that it doesn't count. I wanted that championship. He's went out there.
Lou Williams, if you guys remember, it was part of the Clippers, right? That was a stacked team. They were, in many eyes, one of the favorites to win an NBA championship. They were up 3-1 against Denver, and then end up blowing that 3-1 lead. So this is Lou Williams' perspective, is a right perspective on this.
And accomplish things in the purple and gold, and he's going to be recognized as a person to do some of these things in the purple and gold. So I think when it's all said and done, that would change. That part of the conversation will change because he did these things on your team. But I understand where the Laker fans come in and say that we don't really put him on the Kobe level because Kobe was homegrown.
Stop right there. Okay, so there's a little that topic is a little bit more specific. Is LeBron an all-time Laker great? I'm going to save that for a different video. Yesterday, there was a conversation that sparked that I think will actually really be kind of in its own video on its own. So I'm not going to get too much into that. But I thought Lou Williams talking a little bit about the bubble championship said a little bit something there. I got another clip I want to play here real quick. And this is Patrick Dumont, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Again, trying to kind of justify why they traded Luka Doncic. Take a listen here. I'm going to probably forward to about the first minute of it or so and take a listen to what he's talking about in regards to why they did the trade. I don't think he's helping himself at all here. I don't know if he's making himself sound any smarter in this stuff, but he's got to justify it. So take a listen.
How do we get better? What can we do to improve our team? And so we looked at our trajectory during the season and realized that we did not get better. But the teams that we competed against, some of which we beat, did get better. And ultimately, when you look at the Eastern Conference, after we were to get through the Western Conference, if we're so fortunate, you would have to beat some very formidable teams, including one that we lost to, which actually got better. So
one of my favorite things in this whole thing, they're clearly in some kind of conference. Let's just say I think they're eating some good food. I hear knives and forks. I think they got some good lunch in there or good dinner or whatever's going on.
This was a decision about the future. If you look at our roster today and who we have, we feel like we position ourselves to be incredibly competitive against the best teams in the NBA.
I'm trying to buy what you're trying to sell, but don't say it's a decision for the future. Say it's a decision for now. That's what he should say. He should say, we're trying to win a championship right now. 2 to 3 year window right now is when we're trying to win a championship. Because saying it's for the future, but trading a 25-year-old, those don't exactly go together.
And if you're a fan of basketball, I'll just throw that out there. You have Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and either Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively as your starting five. That's going to put fear into a lot of teams in the league.
Good team. I like that team. I think they could be very, very competitive, but they got to be healthy. And already 3 or 4 of those guys aren't healthy. And Klay Thompson's not at an age where you're really throwing his name out and saying it puts fear into people.
If we can get going.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Right. And so the objective was, how do we create a roster for the future that allows us to be the most competitive team? I've said it all along. I don't know if you heard what I said when we actually bought the team from Mark, but we want to win championships. We want to be a winning franchise for the city of Dallas, and we want to be one of character, one of community involvement, and one where we sort of carry on the legacy of the Dallas Mavericks in the right way.
All right, that's Patrick Dumont. So there's him giving his reasoning again. I'll go back to what I just said earlier. He's better off just saying, guys, listen, we're trying to win right now, and that was our goal, and that's why we made the trade. We don't think we can win a championship with Luka. We don't think we can beat the Boston Celtics. We think we could beat him with Anthony Davis. And if you say we got a 2-3 year window, and then after that, we'll worry about the future when the future comes. We're trying to cash a championship right now, and this is how we do it. Then I think it's a little bit more genuine. But you can't say we're trying to win for the future and trade a 25-year-old. So I don't know how much Patrick Dumont is helping himself out here. All right, let's. I'll get into some of these comments here in just a second. AD doesn't put fear the final 4 minutes of a playoff game. Yes, Luka doesn't put fear into other teams, so they just triple team him for fun. That's a pretty funny comment. That's pretty good. Right. When you have an entire roster, like you heard Ryan was just saying on there, who covers the Nuggets, he's like, yeah, they literally double teamed him at half court. Yeah, that is definitely because there's no fear. All right, let's keep going here. I got a couple other things I'm going to make mention of, and then we're going to call it a day. Steph Curry last night, they're playing the Sacramento Kings. Does somebody want to explain something to me here? This kind of a funny Barkley take. At halftime of that game, Kings and the Warriors, Kings were down 10, and Barkley's putting money on the table, or Barkley's trying to bet Shaq that Kings are going to come back in that game and win it. I'm like, what makes you think the Kings are going to win this game on the road and they're already down 10 at halftime? Well, they ended up losing by 20 plus. Steph Curry, the first player to ever pass the milestone of 4,000 threes in his career. You guys want to see just something that looks just absurd and doesn't make any sense? Let me show it to you. Yeah, I don't know what Barkley was doing. I have no idea what Barkley was doing. Look at the all-time three-point career leaders. Steph, 4,000. Second place, James Harden. By the way, James Harden, that's impressive. 31-27. Now, I know the league is different and people are firing up threes like no tomorrow. I don't care. James Harden's there's only two players with 3,000 or more, and James Harden is one of them. Steph's already at 4,000. Then you got some current players in Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson that's there. LeBron, believe it or not, is on this list. Paul George is on the list. So that's it. Those are all the active players. Where will Steph be by the time the dust settles? Steph is already almost 1,000 more than James Harden. Just unreal for that accomplishment there. Something to point out there as well. All right, let me just comment out of the way here. We'll keep things going here. I don't know if you guys saw this. Lakers got the Spurs coming up on Monday. De'Aaron Fox to have season-ending surgery on his pinky, on his left pinky. I'm sure they probably needed to do this, but I'm sure I don't know if they would have still done this if Wemby was healthy and they were fighting for a playoff berth. But for right now, the San Antonio Spurs have no interest in winning. They're going to go ahead and try to cash in on a pick. They're going to hope that Victor Wembanyama and the issue that he has is all good by the time next year comes around. And they're going to hope De'Aaron Fox is all good by the time next year comes around. And they're going to hope that they get a good draft picks because they're 27 and 37 and are probably trying to lose games, not necessarily win games. So there's a lot that kind of goes into play in that. So something to keep in mind in De'Aaron Fox. And then the last thing that I really kind of want to make mention of here real quick, the Philadelphia 76ers, there's a report out there from Sam Amick of The Athletic. The Philadelphia 76ers will try to trade Paul George this summer. So something to keep in mind there. Now, I want to get the exact numbers here real quick. I know I've brought this up before. Paul George's contract. By the way, if you got comments, I'll take a quick look at here in just a second. Paul George is in year one of a 4-year contract. He made 49 this year, 51 next year, 54 the year after that, and then, oh, by the way, a player option for 56 when he's 37 years old. I don't know what the hell they're going to get for him, and I don't know who's going to trade for him. But, yeah, the money part of it, that's going to be an issue. It's going to be a problem. By the way, I know there was a lot of criticism or, oh my God, I can't believe the Clippers are trading Paul George, or not trading, but they're not going to re-sign him. Looked like that was the smart move to happen there. They wanted to sign him. They just didn't want to sign him to a 4-year deal. They wanted something that was a little bit more responsible. Okay, as we always mention here, the weekend preview is presented by the Wallace firm. Need legal help for a serious injury? The Wallace firm are proven trial lawyers. Go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa to learn more. Again, wallacewins.com/Sliwa to learn more. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being a great partner here of the show. Okay, let's get a final couple of comments in here, and then we're going to call it a week until tonight. Well, we're back on tonight because Lakers got the Nuggets. Busy week this week, by the way. Busy week. All right, let's take a look at some of these comments here and call it a day. One super here we got here. Looks like AR playing hurt. Well, yesterday he looked a lot better. I'll tell you that. Looked a lot better yesterday. Justin Richards, Reeves heating back up. Going to need him tonight. They need everybody tonight. PG fleeced the Spurs. Well, go get your money. I'm not mad if another team out there is willing to give you $211 million, here's what you should do. Go get $211 million. How crazy is that? Look at some of these contracts. 49 this year, 51 next year. My God. Clippers would have had SGA, but they wanted Paul George. Oh, well. Ray, here's the tough one that's always going to be with that conversation. Kawhi was going to sign with them if they made the trade for Paul George. OKC just took advantage of a predicament in a situation. And now they got the MVP. They got the best record in the Western Conference. They're set up for years to come, and they still got a number of draft picks. Might as well shut down Fox. You're not wrong there. I agree with you on that. Let's see what else we got here. When I see Kyrie, Clay, AD, I fear they can break like a glass jar at a moment's notice. Unfortunately, you're right about that. Somebody else on here, I mute the TNT guys. I didn't understand what he was doing. They're still entertaining. I mean, you don't have to like them, but I think it's safe to say that they're definitely entertaining. Let's see what else we have. Get a couple more. We're going to call it a day. Let's see what I got here. The defense is hurting when we play Hayes, Rui, Vando, DFS. They just got to get healthy, guys. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. They just got to get healthy. Yeah, I say Durant. I say beat Durant, Suns, beat Foxless, Wembyless Spurs. They're going to need it. They're going to need it. Back on tonight, we'll do another one of these coming up later tonight after the Lakers take on the Denver Nuggets. This is somebody living the good life, posted up at Silver Strand Beach in Coronado. So enjoy Coronado, enjoy SD, brother. That's a good place to be in Southern California. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of the show. Solid week. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I know the Lakers suck right now. They're injured. There's nothing they can do. They're injured. But you guys are still here. You're still hanging out. You're still supporting the channel, so I appreciate it. I know I'll be here. So whether you're here or not, I'm going to be here doing the show and trying to put together the best show for you guys. Have a great rest of your Friday. See you guys later tonight. Also back on Sunday after the Lakers take on the Phoenix Suns. Also back on Monday morning, and then Monday night after the Lakers take on the Spurs. That's a lot of sleep. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your Friday.